Hi Rick.
Hello.
How are you?
Fine, thank you.
Great. So it is your second time here in Israel, and we are very happy to have you here again with us.
Nice to be back.
So can you tell us a little bit about your life since you were winning on the first prize in our Rubinstein competition?
Since I won fourth, it's been pretty busy for me. I went back to New York, moved some of my stuff out of my apartment to Baltimore, which is where I am now. And then I went to Bowdoin for 3 weeks. There's a music festival there. And after Bowdoin, I was at Cleveland in the international piano competition there, and I won third. So I had to stay there for the entire 3 weeks.
Right.
And then I took a road trip to Yellowstone. So
Just to relax.
well, I was doing more driving than relaxing, but yeah, still, it was nice to get away.
Great. So I see that you did find a little bit of time to relax and have a small vacation.
A little bit, yeah.
Maybe to see some of your family and friends.
Yeah, I got to stay with my family for a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
After Rubinstein, which was nice.
Yeah, great. So, can you tell us how did you start playing the piano?
I guess I was about 3 or 4 years old, and I evidently showed some interest. And my parents decided that, based on the little bit that I had fooled around on the keyboard and that I had showed some interest in it, that I should get piano lessons. And I started.
Interesting. So, do you sometimes play just for yourself a piece that you are not playing at a concert?
These days, not so much, because I'm playing so many pieces for either competitions or concerts that I don't really have time to, as much as I would like at least, to look at other repertoire outside what I'm doing. But I always play music for myself. I very rarely choose pieces for competitions or concerts that I don't like or want to play. So in that way, yes. But just to learn something out of the blue, I very rarely get a chance to do that these days.
I see. So what do you do when you're not playing the piano?
Well, this year I've been playing the piano pretty much all the time. I play some ping pong every once in a while.
Ping pong?
Yeah. It's kind of like tennis, except you don't have to run so much. That's good for me.
It's more easy.
Yeah. And that's pretty much it.
So you're going to play Bach Concerto No. 2 in C minor for 2 pianos.
Yes.
With Ilya Mishkovsky. What do you think about this music?
Oh, it's fantastic. It's Bach, of course. I actually haven't had that much chance in the past 10, 11 years of my life to play much Bach. And I think, even though I absolutely love and respect it, it's just not something that I ever felt particularly comfortable doing. So that's maybe why I shied away from it a little bit. But it's been a fantastic experience, and playing with Ilya is great fun. So
It's a beautiful music.
absolutely.
Yeah. Can you think of one special piece or event that influenced your career?
Event. Probably the most influential event in my life, at least as far as starting me along the path, was the Hilton Head International competition that I started that I did when I was 21. That was really my first major international competition, and because I won, I got to play some concerts. I got a Carnegie Hall debut, and that really kind of propelled me into being able to do other things. So.
So for you, what is the meaning of taking risks while you are playing?
That's a pretty complicated question. I think probably would take a little bit more of a technical discussion than time allows here. But you can take either technical risks or musical risks. Technical risk is when you choose a tempo, for instance, that you think that the composer intended, but that may not be the most comfortable tempo. In that way, you're kind of putting it all on the line for the sake of the composer. But you can take musical risks more so in competition. I think that makes sense, because there's a certain tendency for players at competitions to play in kind of a narrow way, kind of void of eccentricity. And if you can be musically explorative during a competition, and that way you're taking musical risks. So that's, I guess, the short answer to that question that I can give you.
It's a good answer. Who is your mentor? Do you have one?
I guess Boris Slutsky, my teacher for many, many years. I started working with him when he was 35. We've been, for the last 15 years, off and on working together.
Yeah.
And he's a fantastic musician and a great person.
So, if you could choose only one favorite pianist, who would it be?
I think it's impossible. I think it's impossible, really, to choose among the crop of young pianists currently. Well, he's not really young anymore, but Kissen is the person who I find his interpretations and his ability generally to be just mind-bogglingly great. Among the old generation, of course, Arthur Rubinstein and Richter are two pianists that I greatly admire.
Yeah, it's a hard question. So usually the young generation is less fond of classical music. So how do you see your part in bringing them closer to it, if at all?
I don't think that I mean, I'd love to be able to do as much as possible to introduce this music to a younger generation, but I think that's more or less the responsibilities of the schools, because no one's getting a classical music education at all anymore in public school systems, at least in America. It's almost virtually non-existent anymore. And if you don't grow up with this music, with very rare exceptions, if your parents don't expose it to you, if the school system doesn't expose it to you, then by the time you're 20, 21, 22, it's kind of already too late. You know, you just don't. I know a lot of people come to it later in life, but it's certainly helpful if it's introduced to you at a young age. And I'd like to do some of that work eventually later in my life.
Okay. So, what are your plans for the upcoming year? Anything special?
Well, I have a few concerts coming up from the Cleveland competition that I'll be doing next year. There are, of course, several competitions that I have my eye on, although I've been doing a lot of competing in the last 5 years, and I have to make a decision, especially after this year, which was very successful for me, how many more of these things I actually want to do. But I just started a doctoral degree at Peabody, and so I'm going to be busy doing classwork and things like that as well. So I'm going to have my hands full, for sure.
So to conclude our short interview, I want to play a short game of association.
Oh no.
So I will read the word out loud, and you can just tell us the first thing that pops out of your mind. Bach, for instance.
Ilya.
Vacation.
Yellowstone.
Etudes.
Chopin.
Love.
Chopin.
Home.
Home? Baltimore.
And Eric Zuber.
A nice guy. I hope.
So thank you so much for your time, and we really look forward to hearing you in the concerts in the marathon this weekend.
Great.
And we wish you a lot of success.
Thanks
Thank you very much.